Hi Gregory, I have your arms in front of me, so we'll just quickly go through these. First, I think there's a few small proportional problems. Okay, the major one being the relationship of the deltoid to the size of the arm, right? So hopefully you can see kind of side by side. It's almost a one-to-one as far as overall height, so top to bottom, and yours goes quite a bit larger here and smaller here, right? So even at the back of the arm, there's a little convexity that's missing and a little height in the arm, but overall, I think probably the biceps or the deltoid is a little bit too big. I'm going to put these on a correction layer. Okay, so that might just be a little bit of a nip and a tuck at level 1 just to get things into shape. In fact, I'll just pull all this down. And I'm going to introduce a little bit more kind of curvature to the bottom of the biceps, or sorry, the bottom of the triceps. Okay, so in general, I think that'll just help things a bit with the overall impression. Pop this up back up to level 6. And the next thing, I feel like probably in this particular view, you're going really wide in the forearm, right? Certainly this angle in the reference, he's quite wide through there. But I can tell that you have a little bit too much convexity to this, right? As this flows all the way out here, it's taking a really wide path versus his, which goes more or less straight there. And that is going to be extra volume coming in at this angle, right? And so I'm just going to, again, go down to level 1 and just with the move brush, kind of try to conform this volume a little bit on both sides. Okay, I may not have done a perfect job at that, but hopefully you get the idea. Okay, so in general, I think if I just toggle this layer now, you can see we're in a little better place as far as proportions go. Right, he was quite bulbous, and now he's a little bit closer to where we want him. Okay, as far as the overall forms go and the anatomy, I'll just switch to my clay tubes brush, and I'll also put it on the same layer. I think we just need to kind of define our transitions in the triceps a bit better, right? So we have the separation between the medial head and the long head in here, which has a very characteristic separation on him, quite a strong line. Go a little bit harder with your epicondyle, your medial epicondyle, and the transition up. So kind of really look for plane changes and define those. And just put a little bit of that in there. And it seems like your long head of your tricep is decently formed. And now just look at the, well, I'm looking at the olecranon as well. Olecranon is huge in most people. Well, not huge, but bigger than you've given it credit for, right? Bonier. So I'm just going to kind of bulk that up a little bit and bring my light down. So just a little bit more volume. Then remember, it goes up and down. You have that captured, and the flexor mass tucks right in there, which you've done pretty well as also. Okay, I see the main tendons up here, so that is nice, and decent proportion between the extensors, or sorry, yeah, the ridge muscles and the flexors. Okay, so let's just pronate the hand and see what happens. So pronate at 90 degrees. What I was looking for in most people's work was kind of consistency in the epicondyles and the lengthening of the biceps, and you seem to have nailed both of those. So the epicondyle doesn't move around too much. I'll turn my adjustment layer off. So you're good there, because really you want that to remain consistent. And then in the back view, it looks like the redistribution of the forearm muscles is going pretty well. One thing that I want you to just be very careful of is this line right here. And we really want to be sure that our biceps has enough room to dive in between the ridge muscles and the flexor mass, right? Because it really needs to get in there, and we don't want to crowd it out too much with the ridge muscles. Okay, I'm just going to pull up the reference so we can look at that. And we'll just go tile selected. Yeah, I think yours is pretty close. It's splitting hairs really, but that's the important bit of anatomy that we want to remember, is that we have to be able to fit our biceps in there. So we don't want too much on the outside here, because remember, this comes around to a nice unified tendon which goes in somewhere in here. So look at the distribution of the outer bit of the biceps and the brachialis, just to be sure about that. Okay, and then we'll extend and see what's happening here. Again, without the edits. Your extension looks pretty good. Just be careful about space in here. I'm just going to get one of the extension images up. And I'll shrink it a little bit, so we can look at this together. So yeah, pretty well observed through here. I'm expecting to see kind of intramuscular septum and medial head of the triceps, which I do, and I expect to see possibly a little bit more pronator in here. Pronator is pretty broad. Just remember the pronator teres. And then I think that probably we have a little more forearm mass coming up here, a little bit more flexor mass, and we'll take a little bit of the ridge muscle mass off and redistribute that. Right, so we have some flexor carpi radialis in here, and some deeper finger flexors as well. Okay, overall, well done. I think these are really good sculpts in all positions. So thanks very much for the hard work, and we'll see how you do with the hands. Thanks.